Okay, so in my documentary, The Cover Up Parents Who Tweak the Truth to Protect Their Children, I have an assignment that is to interview an expert. And if an expert isn't you, then I'm not sure what is, seeing as how you have six kiddos, ages 4 to 21.
Right.
So you've been doing this for a long time, or you know a lot about the subject that we're talking about: omitting the truth, telling white lies, protecting children, parents covering for their kids, and how that affects kids in the future. So we just watched a recording of an interview that I did with five kiddos. They were in age range of, I believe, 4 to 14. Let's talk a little bit about that interview. One of the things that the kiddos had said was that in the future, when they grow up and have kids, they were going to cover for them too, but only for certain instances. Do you think, from your perspective as an expert, will say that this is a normal behavior, or no?
I do. I think it's normal. I think that most parents would want to. I mean, all parents want to protect their kids. It's just to what extent and involving what situation. I think that them having that reaction was very normal.
Do you necessarily think that maybe it's teaching children to lie? Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't think it's so much teaching children to lie as it is to. I think some of what I saw was that um, they want to. I think one of them said have their kids back. I think they see it more as a protection issue. I don't really know that it's a bad thing. I'm sure there are people that would disagree.
Now, in this interview, I do believe that the kiddos that we interviewed do have parents that are separated, and they had all mentioned that their moms and dads, or vice versa, lie to one another to cover for them.
Right.
What do you think about this? Do you think this is normal? This happens more in situations in which the parents are separated or married, or?
It probably does happen more where the parents are separated. I think just because you're going to find yourself, as parents, you'll find yourselves involved in situations alone with the kids, obviously, on a greater level than parents that maybe are still together. But that's not to say that parents that are married don't don't lie to one another or omit the truth. I personally know that that happens in married couples as well. So.
So it sounds like, just from interviewing these kiddos, I know they were all kind of shouting at once, so it's hard to say, and we didn't get any super specific instances. There were a few, but it sounds like this occurs often. This instance of cover up. Would you say that that's probably normal for the average American family, or?
I would think so. Only because I know several couples that do, and I think in any instance, especially when parents are separated, there are going to be things that may happen when they're with dad that dad doesn't want mom to know, and things that happen when they're with mom that mom doesn't want dad to know. So I'm sure, but I mean, as I said, there may be other families where you know they feel like it's wrong or they don't feel like it's the norm, but I would say on average it probably does occur in more homes than not.
Because it seems like this is something that is continuous for some of our interviewees, do you think this has any impact on the adult that is covering for the children, or tweaking the truth, so to say, to protect them? Do you think this impacts what they decide to do in the future for their kids, or?
Um, no, I don't think so. As in, you know, my case, as I had said, the things that I have done for my kids in the cover-ups or the not bringing the whole truth to light, I would do again. And in the future, I mean, sure, there's going to be other instances where I react the same and see it as protecting or helping the kids. Um, I don't know that it would have what kind of impact it would really have.
What about for things like, just to say, if we took this a little further, like in the education setting, or maybe even when it comes to the law, do you think that there are going to be instances in which this will come up?
With the
Like
law, how? As in,
maybe like an instance that would be maybe so serious. We've been talking about, I mean, obviously interviewing the kids, we're not going to get into super deep things, and they're all pretty young, so none of them have had an experience such as that, but maybe like in the future, if your kids get older and say they come into some sort of trouble with the law, would it be okay for a parent in that situation to cover for them, or
no,
what do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think that when you're talking about any kind of involvement with the law, I think that's a much more serious circumstance, or would be. I can't imagine. I mean, we could name several specific topics that might come up with maybe teenagers or young adults, but I mean, I'm sure it does happen. But from my point, I would think that it would be too serious an issue to just cover up for them, or not bring the truth, because if you cover for them at that point, with something so serious, then they're going to think they're invincible and they're above the law, and you don't want that, because that would create a monster, so to speak.
A couple of the interviewees talked about instances at school. Do you think that this has an impact on the educator that we might call the victim, so to say? The one who is being lied to, or the parent is covering?
I don't think so. Only because the topics we've heard about, such as assignments or tardies or things like that. I mean, I don't think they would personally affect an educator. Maybe if anything, an educator may form the opinion that maybe they would not know whether it was worth the bother to call the parent, because they may come to the opinion that, well, no matter what I say, they're always going to believe their children. So it may come down to something like that, but other than that, I couldn't see how it would affect them personally. They may have some issues in the classroom, maybe where if they feel like the parent is going to have the kids back, they're not going to be able to gain any kind of control. I don't know.
Were there any other topics of significance maybe that you wanted to touch point on, having so much experience with these situations, that any of our interviewees discussed? Anything that you found that might be significant to this documentary, or a finding for any audience members that watch it particularly?
No, I don't think so. I can't think of any specifics right off the bat. I thought in watching the interview with the kids that I don't know that they really spoke specifically about topics. I mean, they were more general, as far as, I think some of them said, getting in fights at school, or talking back to the teacher, or talking back at home. I can't really clue in on one specific issue with any of them.
It was a really good interview, don't you think?
I think it was. I liked the fact that they all kind of answered spontaneously. They all kind of just gave, it brought about the truth, because they all answered honestly from their own perspective. And it was interesting to hear what they think of what their parents' actions are and how they see it.
All right, I would like to thank you for your expert opinion, Mrs. Davis. I appreciate it. Mother of 6, like we said. If there's not an expert, if there's an expert out there, it's definitely her. Thank you.
Thank you.